Hello and welcome to Making Space's Open Studios online event. Now before I go into detail about what I do, first of all I'd like to put a shout out please to Amy Hyde and Nathan Chapman and all the hard work that they've put in behind the scenes to make this event possible. If it hadn't have been for those guys, none of this would have happened and I would be at home on my PlayStation instead of being stuck in the studio having to make this video. But thanks anyway. So basically, my name's Richard Walker and I have a studio here in Making Space and I'm a gilder. Now what is gilding? Gilding is basically an opportunity for me not to get a real job but instead to play with different types of metal and lots of paints and whack it all over the surface and create weird and wonderful things. For instance, different furnitures, architecture, metal, wood, all of these things can be coated with a really thin layer of metal and made it to look like it's solid. Now this is fun and you can use all different types of things like copper and aluminium and brass and create wonderful things, but where it really comes into its own is when you use precious metals such as pure gold or platinum or palladium. Now gilding's got a really great pedigree. It was invented about 4,500 years ago by the Egyptians, and they thought that gold was actually liquid sun. They thought the sun was a great big ball of gold in the sky. And what they discovered is the malleable qualities of gold, and so they beat it really thinly and started coating some of their stuff with it and making it look like it was solid. We know all this because when they opened up the tombs, they actually left hieroglyphics in there that described the process and showed how they did these things. And there's a lot of gilding in some areas that actually hasn't changed that much in all that time either. So there's a really lovely ancient mindfulness about the process which I really like. Now there's three major types of gilding and they're known as oil gilding, water gilding and glass gilding. So I'm just going to start with the easiest, which is oil gilding. Now oil gilding can be done by anybody, okay? If you're an amateur and you want to give it a go, absolutely, why not? What can you lose? All it is basically is taking an adhesive or an oil size and you coat it on a surface, and once the size is almost dry, which can range between 1 to 2 hours, or you can even get a special size that lasts for 24 hours. But once it's almost dry, you just put on the metal leaf onto the surface and that will fuse and create a really nice metallic finish. Examples for this is some panels here that I can show you the process that you can see. This is an aluminium panel and you can see you really get that shiny metal finish on there and lovely reflective qualities and so on and so forth. Now, the next one here, this is a fake gold, this is a composition gold, this is 80% copper and 20% zinc. So there's a really nice wide variety of different metals you can use, as I say, and create different colours. The metal leaf itself is really thin. This here is composite, the fake gold, and this stuff here is basically 5 microns thin. This is thinner than a layer of paint would be. You can handle it, however, it's really nice and easy to handle, so you can do stuff with your hands and put it on the surface, and you can scrunch it up, you can create different veins and effects which create really nice finishes too. And then when you start getting into the thinner metals, you start going, well, we go into silver here. Now this silver is much thinner. Silver can go down to about 0.3 microns, which is incredibly thin. You can just about handle it with your fingers again. And so this is easy to put onto the surfaces and manipulate. There you go, you can see it's broken. Let's see, that there is a slice out of my pension in order to make this video. Really much appreciated. Moving on, here we have 24 karat gold. Now I get my gold from a company in Wales, Gold Leaf Supplies, and they have a really lovely wide range of golds, different coloured golds in there, but this is one of my particular favourites. this one here. So this is pure gold, but the problem with the pure gold is it is so fine, 0.1 microns, that you can't pick it up with your fingers. And it's expensive, so you don't want to make mistakes. So I use special tools to pick up the gold and manipulate it, because what I don't want to do is waste any of it. So basically, with these metals and using different tools and putting them on the surface, you can create these nice solid finishes. But what you can also do is you can manipulate those finishes to create lovely surface design. Now, the best place for this kind of thing is when you're starting to look into furniture or frames or architectural features and metal and all kinds of things. And here's some samples of the kind of finishes you can get. This one here is white gold, and this has been put on to the surface as small squares, and then bits have been put over the top, and then alcohol's been used to treat the surface and create that lovely broken finish. You can do the same with the cheap metals as well. So this is the fake gold, the same kind of process, and here we have the real gold. Now, the difference between the real gold and the fake gold is the real gold's got a warmth to it that the fake gold hasn't got. You can see it's got really soft, let me just see if I can get these sorted out, really soft lines. And you can see that the veins in here, they're really broken beautifully, whereas this is really quite harsh. But one of the benefits also of using the real gold is that you don't really need to seal it. Nothing can destroy gold. In fact, gold is formed in a supernova explosion, so you can just imagine really intense temperatures that are needed to fuse the atoms together to create gold. So that if you were to put gold into a nuclear reactor, for instance, it wouldn't be destroyed. It would be widely dispersed, perhaps, but it wouldn't be destroyed. So you can really give it a good whack. There's also different powdered finishes you can get too. So this here is a mixture of broken leaf, aluminium and copper on a blue background, and you can see you can create some really nice designs with that as well. Different chemicals create different finishes, which is what I really like to explore. So here we have fake gold, and this has been allowed to age naturally and encouraged a little bit with some alcohol. And one of my favourites is copper, because you can use a wide range of chemicals on copper to create broken finishes. This one here, I've used copper nitrate to break through the copper, basically to dissolve it in these areas, turn it into verdigris, which is then removed, letting the background colour come through. Now, a lot of my background colours here are black because they're sample pieces, but you know, you can really explore the different types of colours in the background. Blues, greens, even really wild pinks and baby blues look really nice behind these kind of metals as well. And as an artist, really, all people doing things like this should be encouraged to explore and just try to break the mould a little bit. It's another broken finish there. Now, using the copper nitrate on the surface also can create a verdigris effect. So you can create really nice ancient looking copper. And this is really popular. I've done a lot of stuff with manufacturers, and I do consultancy to help them to produce different types of finish in this. For instance, copper baths that have been treated with verdigris to make them look really old, and all types of things that create really nice finishes. Silver is another metal that's great fun to use, and this one here has been treated with chemicals to create this really nice ancient patina there as well. And once again, going a little bit wild, mixing them together, you can create a serious dog's dinner of a panel. That one there is aluminium and copper, and that's been treated with acids and all kinds of things, which makes it really fun. However, a note of caution, you do have to be careful when using the chemicals, because sometimes you can create poisonous chemicals, and sometimes you can create small explosions. It's great fun, but dangerous. So another thing that I like to do is manipulate gold leaf on the surface with tools to create decorative effects as well. So here I've used various techniques to create this lovely pattern in the background there. Now these are all on sample panels, but as I say, these can be used on furniture, on tabletops, on the backs of bars and hotel things, and I use these in all kinds of areas. In my studio, I create, I learn, I play, and then I get out there and do the work. The gold itself, when you gild, you can also create really, really shiny finishes with it. So you can see a beautiful reflective finish there. So there's also the option of making things look like they're just made out of solid gold, which is also one of my favourites. These things don't just work on flat panels, you can also do them on 3D. So I've got some chevrons here, and I've done all of these techniques on there just to show the kind of things that you can do there. You've got another white gold one, and the fake gold one. And here I've just got a couple of samples to show you how putting leaf onto metal surfaces can create a really nice finish. This one here is made with silver, and later on I'm just going to put some chemicals on that and give that a nice patina. And this one here is 24 karat gold. Now, as I say, you cannot destroy gold, it's physically impossible. So you don't have to worry about this gold tarnishing or anything. It's always going to be able to stay the same colour, so you don't have to worry about sealing it or anything, unless it's going to be an area where people are going to scratch it or it's going to get banged. And believe it or not, people like to scratch gold. They see something gilded and they say, is that real gold? And you know, they ruin the work. So you've got to really bear that in mind. So that's oil gilding. So the next thing we're going to look at is what's known as the Rolls Royce of gilding, and that's water gilding. Now, water gilding is a lot more complicated than oil gilding. Water gilding, it takes about 20 times longer to water gild something that does oil gild. And quite simply, that's because the process is a lot longer. Basically, you take a piece of wood, you put on some rabbit skin glue, then you put 10 layers of gesso on, which is refined chalk and rabbit skin glue made. You sand it till it's as smooth as porcelain, and this is where the time comes in, because it takes hours and hours of sanding. Then 5 layers of bowl is put on, and bowl is a really, really refined clay. This is then polished. Then the gold is floated on using water, hence the term water gilding. And then finally, using a dog's tooth burnisher, the gold is rubbed on the surface to bring it up to that really nice high shine. Now, water gilding is great fun. And you can also do a lot of different decorative effects on there, very similar to the oil gilding. You can create distressed finishes, shiny finishes. You can gild with pure gold, white gold, platinum, palladium. It's usually the precious metals, quite simply because if you spent 500,000 years sanding something and rubbing it down and making it look nice, you don't really want to whack on a cheap, gnarly, fake gold. You're just going to go with the real McCoy. So water gilding can be really, really expensive to do. So I find it really hard to get people that want water gilding done for themselves. It tends to be more of the oil gilding stuff, which works well for me. But using water gilding as panels for painting and in art is completely, it's unparalleled. It's just beautiful. So a lot of contemporary artists create gilded panels, and then they'll put figures in there and just create the most wonderful stuff. Now, the final thing that I'd like to show you is glass gilding. Glass gilding is very similar to the water gilding, that you're going to use water to float the leaf onto the glass, and as the water dissipates, the leaf fuses with the glass. And for that, a small adhesive is used, gelatine, which is mixed in with the water, and that's what's going to bond it to the glass. Now, I've got a panel here that just gives you a little idea of the different types of finishes that you can get with glass. I'll just try not to break the light. The different types of glass. So here you can see how reflective it is. That's pure gold there. But again, you can have a lot of fun with these things here. Distress in the background, different coloured paints. You can create lovely matte finishes here. Here I've just dropped some candle wax onto the surface, which creates an interesting texture. Different colours can be put into the surface, or you can even scratch the surface to make a design, and then when you use a backing paint, that design will show through. So for example, this piece here is a sample piece that I've done in white gold, and basically all I've done is I've just used a sharpened stick just to scratch the surface of the leaf, and basically the design is left behind when you put black paint over the back of the surface. I've got no idea how that's going to look on the phone, because you're just going to get a reflection of the phone. So if it looks really naff, I apologise, but I just haven't got time to do this video again. So when I'm creating sample panels, I like to mix them up and put a few different finishes in there, just to really open up to other people what kind of things they can do with the leaf. So here's a sample panel I'm just about to send out, for instance, and this has got 4 different finishes on there for a client, just so that they can have a really nice overview of the kind of surfaces that they can have on their things. You can also gild 3D items very easily. So here I really haven't even got a clue what this is, but I gilded it anyway, regretfully. And it's what's really nice about this is it's got a really nice knobbly texture. So when I age that with patinas of acrylic paints and stuff, it's going to go deep into the recesses. I can wipe off all the highlights and just create a really antique looking whatever that is. So that's a bit strange, really. The other thing about gilding is that you can use it in loads of other areas that are quite common, for recessed letters, for instance. So here we've got some gilded letters in a piece of oak, and this is really easily achieved. You can do this in wood and marble and stuff like that. Again, pure 24 karat gold leaf on that. And this one here, this is just a little sketch of a hare, but that's gilded paper. Now this is an area that's being explored more and more by artists who want to incorporate gold leaf into their work. There's certain materials that you can use to apply gold, white gold, platinum, palladium into oil paintings, acrylic paintings, all kinds of things, and just create some art that's a little bit different from others, really. And to be honest, it's gold. I mean, you can't go wrong if you're going to put a bit of gold in a piece of painting. It's just going to create a little bit of a wow factor. So yeah, so that's basically what I do. And if you're interested, I'm going to be doing a live session on Sunday. So I'm really frightened and looking forward to it. And I'm just going to give you a few gilding demonstrations there. And after that, have a little bit of a question and answer session to see if there's anyone who wants any guidance with their gilding. So thank you very much for watching this. It's probably only my wife, but that's fine. I appreciate it anyway. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.